Greetings, Overflow Facebook. Welcome to our daily activations from the book of Acts. Today's devotional is entitled A Sharp Dispute from Acts chapter 15. Acts chapter 15 gives us a great strategy concerning how to deal with disagreement when there is dissension. So in the first part of the chapter, there was disagreement. There was dissension even among the church leaders, the elders. Then there was discussion concerning the best strategy or the best compromise to bring unity, to bring agreement. Then there was a decision to move forward. And finally, a declaration of agreement was made based on their shared mission and values. So discussion, then decision, then declaration. This is a great leadership strategy to move forward when there is disagreement and when there is dissension. So in my 33 years as a pastor, I have observed that most people's disagreements are more about the how, the strategy and the goals on how best to accomplish the mission or how best to get to where you want to go, rather than there being dissension or disagreement on the what, the mission itself or the purpose. So for churches, marriages, people, they don't usually divide over the question of what. The mission or purpose, that's what brought them together in the first place. For example, almost all Christians agree that our mission is to love God, to love people, and to make Jesus disciples. How we go about accomplishing that will be different from church to church. At Overflow Church, our mission is clear. We live to receive God's love and release God's love to everyone, everywhere. So it's not the mission or the what, the purpose that divides people. It is the how, the strategy, the goals, the plans on how to do the what, how to accomplish the desired results. So one of the top disagreements for parents is how best to discipline their children. Now, both parents would agree on the mission, on the purpose, and that is to do what's best for their children. They have agreement on the what, but usually disagreement on the how to do it, the strategy, the plans, the goals. So one parent is more strict. We need to protect our children from the world and themselves. So they want more control. They're much more strict in how they discipline their children. Whereas the other parent typically is more lenient. Let them find their own way, make their own mistakes, just like we did. And the other parent will say, well, how'd that work out for us? Anyway, it's the same with money. There's agreement on the mission. Do you want financial freedom, happiness, security? Both would say, yes, we agree. But there would be disagreement on how to get there. One would be more frugal. They want to save now for a future security and happiness. Whereas the other spouse, they think, well, let's enjoy the present. Let's spend more money now. And so there's disagreement on the how. One is tight, very budget conscious, budget oriented. One is loose, free spending, more generous, more giving. Neither is wrong. They both have the same mission, just different ways to get there. So in today's devotional and activation, we will see two very godly men with the same mission: to spread the gospel and to make disciples, but two different ways concerning how to accomplish that mission or that purpose. So they have agreement on the what, but disagreement on the how. So let's look together at Acts chapter 15, verses 36 through 41. So after some time, Paul said to Barnabas, and they were best friends. They were best buds. In the beginning, Barnabas was the one that stood up for Paul when no one else would believe that he had been converted. Barnabas was the one that said, yes, I've seen it in Paul's life. He has changed. Later, it was Barnabas who went and found Paul or Saul in his hometown of Tarsus and brought Paul to Antioch, to the very first Gentile church. So Paul said to Barnabas, let's go back and visit each city where we previously preached the word of the Lord. So together, they went on the very first mission trip. Paul and Barnabas were the first missionaries ever. They wanted to see how the new believers were doing. They wanted to check up on the believers that they had led to the Lord in the various cities throughout what is today the modern day country of Turkey. Barnabas, he wanted to take his cousin John Mark with them. John Mark went the first time, but he got scared because of a sorcerer who was practicing black magic. So he went home to Mama in Jerusalem. And Paul, he disagreed strongly. He's like, no, John Mark deserted us in Pamphylia. He had not continued with us in our work. So he said no. But Barnabas understood that Mark, he was young at the time. And he was not yet matured in the faith. And he wanted to give him a second chance. But Paul said no. So there was disagreement. There was sharp disagreement. And it caused them to be separated. But they both wanted the same thing. They just disagreed on how to accomplish it. So when you don't agree on the how, let the person who has to implement the decision, who has the most at stake, who has the most skin in the game, the most to lose, let that person make the deciding vote. Let that person have the most weight in the final decision. So in continuing to read in Mark chapter 15, we see that Barnabas took John Mark with him and sailed to Cyprus to check on the believers in the church in Cyprus, whereas Paul, he chose to take as his partner Silas. And they left. The believers entrusted them to the gracious care of the Lord. Then they traveled throughout Syria and Cilicia, or that'd be modern day Turkey, strengthening the churches there. So it turned out to be a win-win decision. Now there were 4 missionaries sent out rather than 2. And later on, at the end of the Apostle Paul's life, he asked specifically for John Mark to come to see him before he was to be executed by the notorious Roman Caesar Nero. Maybe it was for him to say, before he died, he wanted to say to John Mark, hey, I'm sorry. I gave up on you. You've really grown. to be a great leader and missionary under the tutelage of Barnabas. And so I just want to reconcile, and God bless you, Mark. So whatever the reason was, but Paul at the very end affirmed that Mark was useful in the kingdom of God and saw that, yes, Barnabas saw something in him that he didn't see. So next time you are in a disagreement with someone, first of all, know that you could be wrong. And focus on what unites you, the mission, the purpose. Compromise on the how, the strategy, the goals. Find common ground on how best to accomplish your mission, which has united you. It's why you're together. And when you have disagreement, follow the pattern that we see in Acts chapter 15. Let there be discussion and listen with understanding. Don't just listen to be able to speak as soon as you can. Listen with understanding. Come to a decision. Sometimes you need to agree to disagree. Let the person who has the most at stake in the decision to make the decision, and then support that person, and then make the declaration of your agreement together. So publicly, parents before your children, or pastors before your church, just publicly come together in agreement and make declaration of where and how you're going to move forward. So most important, stand united, because truly divided, we fall. So love your Overflow family. Together we are stronger. God bless you and your family.